Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Gentle Yoga. My name's Micki, and I have a few props today that I like to use. So feel free to use some kind of blanket if you have. I have a bolster, a strap, a tennis ball, and some blocks. So feel free to make your way down onto your mat. And we're going to get started in a restorative shape just to sort of settle in, tune in. And one of my favorite things to do with the blanket is to make, you can take it in a large rectangle and then roll up the edge. And this will go right underneath your heart center. And then you can either bring your knees together. This is going to be the most gentle for your low back. This is called constructive rest pose. So I'm laying with the blanket right about underneath my heart. And then you might either bring your hands to your belly, or maybe it feels okay to cactus the arms or reach them out wide to the sides. So find any kind of position that feels comfortable there. And then you can either bring the knees to tent together, walk the feet wide. That's going to be the most gentle for your low back. Or you can extend your legs long. And then a third option would be if you have blocks, maybe you want to bring the soles of the feet to touch. Open the knees up wide. We call this butterfly or Souptabatakanasana. So go ahead and allow yourself a moment to settle in, find a comfortable position, and feel free to change it up if anything feels uncomfortable. As you begin to settle in, you might close down your eyes or soften your gaze. Allow your shoulders to relax heavy on the mat. And feel the earth rise to support you. Take some nice deep breaths. And if you wanted to bring your hands onto your belly, you could start to sense the rise and fall of your breath. If you find that your monkey mind is trying to pull you in any directions towards the past or planning for the future, you could just gently bring yourself into the present moment by coming back to an awareness of the breath. Filling the lungs, filling the low belly, feeling the diaphragm expand. And maybe you have a specific intention for your practice, something that inspired you to come to class today. You can always bring that intention to mind. And I do have a theme for today's class, and that is the third yama of the yamas and the niyamas. And it's called Asteya, which means non-stealing. I thought I would just start with a short quote from the book by Deborah Adele. The third jewel, Asteya, means non-stealing. It calls us to live with integrity and reciprocity. When we compare ourselves to others, we either find ourselves lacking, which can make us feel cheated, or we might find ourselves superior, which leaves us feeling arrogant. If this guideline of Asteya non-stealing speaks to you, you might use it as an intention for your practice today. And one of the ideas behind Asteya is that sometimes we can even steal from ourselves. And the idea of comparison or even with our time. So she reminds us we need time to rest and reflect and to contemplate. You can imagine whatever intention you set for your practice today is like a glowing jewel. You can allow it to plant itself at your heart center. You might notice that it has a specific color, just trusting that that intuition you have, whatever is coming to you, is what's right for you today. So if you notice anything about your intention and that jewel, just allow it to start to glow and fill your body. Thinking about balancing our effort and our ease and giving ourselves time to rest. You might notice with your inhales that the light is growing brighter. And with your exhales, you might notice the brightness can fade, soften, or dim. Take one more nice deep breath here, and then we'll invite a little bit of movement in with or without that blanket roll. So if it is feeling like too much underneath your back, you're welcome to toss it off to the sides, or one side, I should say. Let's go ahead and bring the knees up so they're facing up towards the sky, and then you can walk your feet as wide as your mat or a little wider. On your exhale breath, go ahead and allow the knees to float over to the left. Maybe you turn your gaze to the right. We'll inhale to sweep the knees and the nose back up to center, and then exhale to float it over to the other side. And if you have anything off to the side, you might just move it out of the way. Go ahead and follow the pace of your own breath. Gently rocking from side to side. Sending your breath down the intricate curve in your spine. On the next inhale breath, bring the knees back up to center. If you feel balanced from left to right, you can roll over to your left side, press yourself up into a seat, and we'll move that blanket off to the side now. When you're ready, you can bring your feet onto the mat out in front of you, reach your arms out in front, and then gently start to roll back onto your back, maybe reaching your hand behind your thighs, drawing your knees up towards your chest. Give yourself a little hug here, maybe stretching your nose up towards your knees. And then you can gracefully lay your head back down. We'll start to draw some circles with the knees, massaging the low back. So you can just bring your hands onto your knees, or you might use a strap here for a little extra length around the shins. We'll take a few nice deep breaths in one direction. And then when you're ready, you can reverse the direction of your knee circles. Take one more nice deep breath, massaging the low back. And then you can release the strap off to the side. We're going to come into a dead bug shape. So you can bend your elbows at 90 degrees, bend your knees at 90 degrees, and then you're kind of floating your knees and elbows in the direction of each other. From here, we'll inhale, kick the heel, the left heel, and bring the right arm long. So those reaching up towards the sky. And then exhale, bring them back to center. Meanwhile, you can be activating your core, gently pressing your low back towards the mat. Let's go ahead and do the other side. Extend your left leg long, your left arm long, your right leg long. And release. Go ahead and alternate from side to side, just following the pace of your own breath. You might try inhale to reach, exhale to release. But feel free to switch it up to whatever feels right for you. You might find that you're building a little bit of heat in your core, using the strength of your core to keep your knees and your arms upright. Let's go ahead and take one more nice deep breath on each side. And then when you're ready, you can land the feet. Stretch the legs and the arms long and find a long body stretch from your heels to your wrists. You might rotate your ankles and your wrists. We're stretching from fingertips to heels. Let's try and find a side bend now here. So we're going to come into a banana shape. So you can sort of lift your torso and reach your arms over to the right. And then go ahead and walk the legs over to the right. And just finding a nice side bend all along your left side body. Maybe you want to grasp hold of your left wrist with your right hand, or you could cross your right ankle over your left shin. Take one more nice deep breath here. And then we'll go ahead and walk it back to center. And then let's try the other side. So lifting the torso, reaching the arms over to the left, and then walking the legs over to the left. Maybe grasping hold of the the right wrist with the left hand. And crossing maybe the left ankle over the right shin. Take a nice deep breath, imagining the breath like the wave of an ocean, cascading down the right side body. We'll take one more nice deep breath here, and then you can walk the legs and the arms back to center. Let's bend into the knees now. Walk the heels in towards the sit bones, and you can bring the hands down next to the hips. With the next inhale, go ahead and rainbow your hands up and overhead. Reach them past the ears. Exhale, gently lower the hands back down. We'll press into the earth, and then you can lift the hip points coming up into bridge. Exhale, gently lower the spine back down. And then we'll inhale to lift the arms. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift the hip points. Coming into your bridge. And exhale to gently lower. Go ahead and take a few more rounds following the pace of your own breath. Let's go ahead and take one more round just like this. And then we're going to pause in our bridge. So the next time your hands sweep down next to your hips, you might find a block handy if you want to come into a supported bridge, or you can take a more active pose. So go ahead and press your arms down as you lift your hips. If you want to stay in an active bridge, you might shimmy your arms underneath your body, interlacing your hands behind you. Or if you want to come into a supported bridge, you could slide a prop like a block or even a rolled blanket or bolster and slide it underneath your sacrum. Take a nice deep breath wherever you landed. Just pause here for a few more rounds of breath. If you're resting with your sacrum on the block, you might try candlestick pose for a gentle inversion. So you could reach your legs up towards the sky. Once more, you might rotate the ankles. And then I'm using my hands to hold onto the block underneath your sacrum. But if that's uncomfortable, if it's too pinchy, you can always stay in any option along the way. Take another nice deep breath wherever you're at. If you're in your candlestick pose, you can go ahead and bring your feet back down, lift the hips, and slide the block out of the way. And then let's all release from whichever version you're in. So you can lower back down. Once more, let's hug the knees in towards the chest. Give yourself a little hug, stretching your nose up towards your knees. And then you can release your hands into a letter T and float the knees over to the left to stack, coming into a twist. So this is hopefully a gentler version of a twist with your knees stacked here at the side. You can start to turn your gaze over towards your right hand. And then you can either relax here into your twist, or maybe it would feel good to find a little bit of movement. So you might trace a big semicircle over the top of your head with your right hand. Bring your right hand over towards your left hand. Reach the right fingers past the left hand. And then inhale, glide the arm across the chest, coming back into your twist. If that feels good, go ahead and try 2 more rounds, finding some mobility in the upper back and in the shoulders. And you might even try following your gaze or following your fingertips with your gaze. So that might help find a nice gentle stretch for the neck. Go ahead and take one more round like this. And then we'll relax for a moment into your twist. If you wanted to deepen the twist and you had a bolster, a block, or a blanket, you can bring that to your side and then extend the left leg long, allowing the right knee to either float down to a prop or down to the ground. Take a nice deep breath here. And then we'll get ready to switch sides. So you can draw your knees up into your chest and then float them over to the right. Extend your arms out into a letter T shape, allowing both shoulders to rest on the mat. You might turn your gaze over towards your left hand now. On the next inhale, go ahead and trace that nice big semicircle up and overhead, gliding it along the ground, and then reach your left fingertips past your right. We'll inhale to glide the left arm across the chest and open it back up into a twist. Let's go ahead and take 3 more rounds like that if this feels good. You're also welcome to find any other movement or just remain in your twist and stillness. After you're done with that last round, you can remain in your gentle twist. You can also bring the bolster or block or blanket over to the other side. Maybe you extend the right leg long, allow the left knee to float over towards your prop or towards the mat. Take a nice deep breath here, just enjoying your twist. Tuning your mind and your awareness into your body. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath, and then we'll come back to our backs. Hug the knees in towards the chest, and you can either rock and roll up and down the length of your spine or roll onto one side and press yourself up into a seat. To come into a comfortable seat, you could always use a chair if it's uncomfortable to be cross-legged, or maybe you prop yourself up with a bolster or with a blanket. And if cross-legged isn't comfortable, maybe stretching the legs long works. So find what works best for you to come into a comfortable seat. Lifting the hips can be a little bit helpful to help to lengthen through the spine. And then just allow yourself to check in with yourself. Notice if you can soften your shoulders, slightly tuck your chin so you can lengthen through the back of your neck. And take a nice deep breath here, maybe closing the eyes and returning your awareness into that heart space. Noticing your glowing seed of intention. With your next exhale, allow your head to gently bow towards the wisdom of your loving heart. And then we'll just start to gently rock the head a little bit gently side to side. So you can kind of sweep your left ear over towards your left shoulder, and then inhale it back to center. Exhale, bring the right ear towards the right shoulder. You don't have to force it. This can be a very small movement. Just finding that place of just enough, just right. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath on each side. Maybe you hear a nice snap, crackle, pop. And again, not pressing, not forcing, just gently gliding, finding that movement. When you feel complete from left to right, you can continue to bow your head once more towards your heart. And then we'll inhale to lift the gaze back up to center. From here, let's bring our fingers together to interlace, and you can start to draw a few figure eights with the wrists. Send some nice deep breaths down towards the hands. And then you can reverse the direction of your figure eights when you're ready. Go ahead and release the hands. You can give them a little shake. And then I wanted to stretch through like the forearms and the back of the wrists, because a lot of times we're in yoga, we're on the palms. So it's kind of nice to give a little reverse. So there's two ways we can do this. You could bring your hands to your sides, and then you could gently bring your elbows a little bit back. Or you might lean forward and press your hands down onto the mat, the back of your hands. And then maybe you want to curl your fingers up into a little fist, and then go ahead and release. So you can take a few rounds like this. You can also do this with your hands at your sides. Let's go ahead and peel the hands off of the mat. Once more, give them a little shake. And then we'll come back to center. And let's start our shoulder rolls now. So go ahead and inhale your shoulders up towards your ears. Exhale, allow them to cascade down the back. You can go ahead and take a few more rolls like this, syncing up the movement, sending your breath into the shoulders, the upper back. And after a few rounds, it might feel good to toggle one shoulder at a time. Kind of feeling into that diagonal from the top of one shoulder blade across the back to the bottom of the opposite shoulder blade. And then when you're ready, we'll reverse the direction of our toggles, bringing the shoulders up from behind and down around in front. And then when you're ready, we'll sync up the movement. So you can start to draw your shoulder blades together to kiss at your back. Inhale them up towards your ears and exhale, cascade down in front. Go ahead and take a few more shoulder rolls like this. And then when you're ready, we'll come to stillness. And then you might lean back, press your palms on the earth, lengthen your legs, and then reverse the direction of the cross. You'll probably notice that this is the awkward way, the less habitual way of crossing your legs. Let's go ahead and bring some blocks, if you like, next to you on the low setting. And then from here, we'll bring our hands to meet at our heart center, interlace your fingers, press your palms forward as you round the spine back. And then we'll inhale to lift up through center. Exhale, release your right hand down to the block or the mat. And then you can flip your left palm. Maybe you look up at your hand as you start to arch over. And I realize I don't really want the block because I'd like a little more distance. So either way, go ahead and start to reach those fingertips up and over and then slightly out in front. And you can start to watch your fingertips draw a big circle up and around. Exhale as you release it out in front, kind of out at a diagonal. And then inhale to sweep it up and around. Go ahead and take two more rounds like this. And the next time you're gazing up at your fingertips, let's go ahead and inhale to come back up to center. Exhale, we'll switch sides so you can plant your palm either on the block or on a mat or on the mat. And then start to arch over, gazing up at your hand. On the next exhale, you can sweep the fingertips down and out at a diagonal, and then start to float your hand back up and around. And you can continue this movement following the pace of your own breath. We'll take 2 more rounds like this. The next time your hand is up towards the sky, you can inhale it back up to center. Exhale to bring the palms to touch, and then you can lower the hands down to the heart center. Let's go ahead and interlace the fingers now the awkward way, and you can start to do a few more figure eights with the wrists. Sending some nice deep breaths into the wrists. You might notice fewer snap, crackle, pops. And then go ahead and reverse the direction of your figure eights. When you're ready, you can come back to stillness, release the hands, give them a nice shake. And we're going to be coming onto hands and knees for cat and cow. I know not everyone likes to be on the wrists or on the knees, so you can also do cat cow from a seat. And remember that if sitting on the ground is uncomfortable, you can do it in a chair as well. So if you're doing it in a seat, you're going to inhale to lift the heart. Exhale to round the spine back. And notice you can later on try some Sufi circles, circling the torso, imagining the belly button is tracing a circle on the inside of a hula hoop. So from either seated or hands and knees. Now, if you're seated right now and you're seated with your in your awkward pose, you might reverse it, and then maybe you want to float over the tops of the shins and spin the feet around behind you to come into tabletop. Remember, you have the option to pad underneath the knees as well. So I'm just going to get that bolster out of the way. And if you want more padding underneath the knees, you can take a blanket and maybe bring it on an open, more open setting so it's not so thick. Although thicker could be more padding for your knees. So find whatever works for you. You can also do cat-cow on your forearms too, to take some pressure off of the wrists. You're just going to get slightly different sensations. So go ahead and start in a neutral spine if you haven't already. We'll inhale to drop the belly. Exhale to round into the spine for cat. Go ahead and mindfully, intentionally move through at the pace of your own breath. Just noticing the sensations in the body, bringing your breath and your awareness there. After a few rounds of cat and cow, it might feel good to start to draw a circle with the belly button. And as you're here, you might take a moment to cultivate gratitude with a sense of awe and wonder, the amazing design of your body, intricate design of your spine, and all the different directions that it can move. The next time your belly button is reaching down towards the ground, if you're drawing a circle, you can go ahead and reverse the direction of your belly button circles. And remember, when we're practicing Asteya, one of the things we're trying to avoid is comparing ourselves with others. You have your own unique body with its own amazing talents and abilities. So you can give yourself this gift of time to offer it gratitude in all of its service. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath here. Then we're going to meet up in a neutral spine. And you can exhale to turn your gaze over your left shoulder. Bend your left hip toward your left shoulder. And then inhale it back to center, and exhale, we'll wag the tail to the right, turning your gaze over your right shoulder. Inhale back to center, and then we're going to find child's pose. But if there are other shapes that you prefer, downward dog could be an option. And if you have a bolster or a pillow, you might try a supported child's pose. So you can bring your big toes to touch, open your knees up wide. If you're using a bolster, you can slide it in between the knees. And then go ahead and lower the torso down. And if you're using a support, you're going to want to bring one cheek to the bolster. Stretching your hands out in front, softening your gaze, softening all of your effort. If you're resting one cheek on a bolster, go ahead and lift your head, and you can go ahead and switch sides. We'll take one more nice deep breath in your child's pose. And then when you're ready, you can press yourself back up into hands and knees. Maybe you slide that bolster out of the way. And then we're going to come down onto our forearms next. And you can extend your left leg back behind you. Tuck the toes under, press the heel towards the mat. You can, of course, also do this on the palms of your hands if you prefer. You're going to find that nice deep stretch through the back of your calf. And then we'll lower that knee back down, extend the right leg back behind you, tucking the toes under, pressing the heel towards the mat. Finding length through the back of your calf. Now, I love to turn this into a forearm plank. So you can lower your right knee down where it's at, and then slide your left knee back. Being here on your knees, you're actually going to start to feel maybe the strength of your core engage. So this is a great forearm plank variation. Or you can lift one knee. You might find it takes a little more effort, alternating one knee at a time, or you can lift both knees. And whenever you feel ready, go ahead and lower down onto your belly, untuck your toes, and then we're planting the elbows now underneath the shoulders. The palms are down on the ground. You can start to press your palms into the mat, energetically glide them back as you reach the heart forward for a nice back bend here, Sphinx pose. Take a nice deep breath. Keep a soft gaze here. And then with the next exhale, you can lower your forehead down to the back of your palms. You can stack the palms with the elbows out in front. And then just lower your forehead down. Relaxing your glutes, softening all of your effort. And if it feels too far to reach your hands or your head down to your palms, you could also stack your fists so you make a little pillow to rest your forehead. Take a nice deep breath, sensing the rise and fall of the back of your body, your seat of self-care. Some people find it's nice to bend the knees and gently windshield wiper the heels a little side to side. Take one more nice deep breath here, and then we'll soften the feet back down to the ground. You can bring your hands underneath the shoulders, and then gently, you're not even really pressing in. Your hands are just there as placeholders as you're lifting the heart for baby cobra. You could even hover the hands here. So all of that strength and lift is coming from your spine and your core. Take a nice deep breath in your baby cobra. And then on your exhale, you can turn the gaze to the left. Allow your right cheek or temple to rest on the mat. Take a nice deep breath here, softening all of your effort. And then we'll come in for another baby cobra. So lifting the gaze, lifting the heart, using the strength of your shoulder blades, drawing together. On your next exhale, you can turn your gaze to the right and then soften your left temple down towards the mat. Take a nice deep breath here. And then go ahead and tuck your toes under. We'll lift up into our tabletop. And then from here, we're going to come into a low lunge. So you might like your blocks. You can still do some of these same shapes in a chair. I know that for some of you, it's not great to be on the knees. So maybe you try a lunge sitting on your chair. If you have your blocks, let's walk the blocks over to the right. You'll step the left leg through, and then you're in this low lunge on your knee. Now, if you prefer not to be on the knee, you could always tuck the back toes under and lift the back knee. This is actually going to require a lot more strength and balance, but will allow you to be off of that back knee. So I'm going to gently lower my knee down. From here, we're going to rise up tall into Anjanae Asana. You can either bring your hands to your hips, to your heart center, or reach your arms up overhead. Now we're going to turn this into a twist. So you can bring your arms out in front of you, coming into zombie arms. And then just like a pendulum, you're going to allow that left hand, which is the same hand as your front knee, to swing back and start to turn your torso to the left. It's a lot going on. Maybe you can turn your gaze to the left, but again, that's going to really challenge your balance here. On the next inhale, we'll lift both arms back up to center, and then exhale to bring your hands down to your blocks or the mat. You're going to come into Ardha Hanumanasana, which is half split. So you can start to walk your hands back on blocks, straightening that front leg. You can either leave, you might even bring it out in front a little bit more, and leave your toes on the mat, or you could start to lift your toes up towards your face. Take a nice deep breath here, and you might start to maybe deepen the stretch by allowing your heart to reach down towards your knee. Inhale, we'll rise back up to center and then come back into your lunge. You can walk your blocks to the inside of your front knee, and then we'll return that knee back onto the mat. Feel free to either sit back on your heels if that feels okay in hero's pose, or take a nice deep breath in child's pose or downward facing dog. So you're just giving yourself a moment to tune into your breath, soften your effort, start to observe any differences from left to right. And then we'll come into tabletop, hands and knees. I have my hands up on blocks for a little bit of height, and you can walk the blocks now over to the left, step the right foot forward, frame that front foot, and then you can press into your thigh. As I mentioned, that's sort of a more advanced move, I would say. Well, I don't know if I should say advanced. That's kind of a judgy thing to say, but if you wanted to tuck your back toes under and lift up, this is just going to require a lot more balance than being on your knee, but it could be gentler for your knee. So it's kind of a cost benefit analysis there. We'll bring our hands to heart center, and then you can inhale to reach your arms up and overhead, lifting the heart, lifting the gaze. On the next exhale, we'll bring the arms out in front. And then we're going to take that right arm, which is the same as the right knee, and just like a pendulum, allow it to sweep down and maybe reach back. On this side, it's not reaching up as far, and that's okay too. It's coming into that twist. You could also bring your hands to your thigh. Just use that as leverage. Take a nice deep breath here, maybe turning your gaze past your right shoulder. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale to rise to center. Exhale to float the hands down to your blocks. And you can start to sink your hips back. So I'm kind of creeping my right toes forward. And then that gives me a little bit more space to lean my hips back and maybe point the toes up towards the sky, finding half split. Ardhanuasana. Take a nice deep breath here. With your next exhale, we'll bring the foot back down. You can walk both blocks to the inside. And then we'll bring that back foot back to bring to kneeling. And from here, feel free to take either a downward dog, child's pose, or you can come and sit in Virasana, hero's pose. I'm just sitting on my heels. I think this feels good, but not everybody does. So remember, it's a practice. And also the practice is to not compare ourselves to others. Whenever you're ready, we're going to come onto our seat next. So you might walk your knees forward, swing your heels around, and then we'll start to slowly slide back onto our backs. And you can draw your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a little hug. And then maybe you walk your hands up to your ankles, your shins, or the knife edge of your feet for happy baby pose, drawing the knees towards the armpits. It might feel good to gently rock a little bit side to side. You can go ahead and take a moment to explore happy baby, smiling warmly upon yourself. in this childlike shape. And then if there are any other last poses you'd like to explore before your final rest, you're welcome to explore those now. I do want to offer just 2 ways that you can use props for a little bit of self-massage. So one way is to come to lying on your back, and you can use a tennis ball. And I'm with my feet planted on the mat here. I'm going to roll over to the left side with the tennis ball in my left hand. Sorry, I'm rolling onto my right side. I have my tennis ball in my left hand. And then you can reach the tennis ball back behind you. Maybe you place it in between your shoulder blade and your spine. And then you can roll over. You could make it even gentler by staying sort of in this twist so that you don't have all of the pressure of your weight on your back. But I just really love that. Just allowing the tennis ball to sort of massage in that area that I hold tension. Some other places that people use tennis balls for massage, which I don't like as much, is on the hips from this laying down position. So for me, that's not where it's at, but you could always explore that. And then of course, a third option would be standing using the tennis ball to massage your feet. If you don't have a tennis ball, but you have a block, you're welcome to use the block. I use like the edge of the block right underneath my head. So you're kind of leaning back with that block, the edge of the block, right at the edge of your skull. And you can find stillness, or maybe you gently rock your head a little bit side to side. And then as we're ending class or coming towards the end of class, you might just think about any other final shapes that you'd like to make. If there's any other things that we left out of class today that you would like to make you feel that your class was complete, you're welcome to explore those now. And then we'll be heading towards our final resting pose, Shavasana. As you move towards your final resting pose, you might cozy up with a blanket or rest your head on a pillow, or maybe rest that pillow or bolster underneath your knees. So just coming back to this idea of Asteya, as you begin to come into your final rest, we'll just end class with some more thoughts on Asteya in the book by Deborah Adele. She quotes Albert Einstein. He says, 100 times a day, I remind myself that my inner and outer life depend on the labors of other people, living and dead, and that I must exert myself in order to give in full measure as I have received and am still receiving. So we might just take a moment in our final resting pose to feel a sense of gratitude for all of the things that we've received that have allowed us to be here today. Gratitude for all the builders of the building that you're currently in, the floor that's supporting you, the walls that are sheltering you. And gratitude for yourself for showing up for your practice today. Giving yourself this opportunity to tune your awareness into your breath and attend to the needs of your body. Maybe there's one thing about your practice today that you can feel proud of yourself for. Maybe it's actually doing something different than I suggested, noticing what your body needed and attending to those needs. Without judgment, but with compassion and curiosity, as you enter into the rest of your day, you might just take a moment to assess your own personal battery. And give yourself permission to recharge and rest. We have so many demands sometimes in our life. What a revolutionary act it can be to say no, or even recognize what we need for ourselves. Allow all of your thoughts right now to pass by like floating clouds. You can gently, softly observe the thoughts without getting attached to them. Notice where you can soften in your body. Maybe smoothing out your forehead, your eyelids, hinge of your jaw. Allowing the shoulders to rest heavy on the earth. Take this moment to feel completely supported by the strong, steady earth. Feel the hug from the universe as gravity holds you to the earth. This moment to feel complete, just as you are, without needing to do anything. And tune your awareness back into your heart center, the glowing seed of intention. Allow that glowing jewel to fill you with light. Allow the light to start to beam out through your pores, radiating out into the universe. If If you feel ready to reawaken the body, you can start to deepen your breath. Maybe you start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Gently rotate your wrists and your ankles. And then find a long body stretch, reaching your fingertips past your ears, reaching your legs long. And then when you're ready, you can roll onto one side, finding a fetal position. Resting your head against your upper arm as a pillow. And then when you're ready, you can press yourself up into a seat. We'll invite our hands to meet at our heart center. You can allow your head to gently bow towards the wisdom of your loving heart. And I'd love to invite you to join me in chanting one round of Om, followed by singing 3 rounds of Shanti, 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 which means peace, peace, peace. Go ahead and exhale all of your breath when you're ready. We'll inhale together for Om. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Let me know if you have any thoughts or questions about class.
Thank you. Thank you.